Spider-Man 2 is about Peter Parker meeting his idol, only to have him go crazy and try to destroy half of New York. So, it's up to Spider-Man to stop him. But by the end, I can't believe the whole world doesn't know who he is. It starts off with Peter getting yelled at by his boss. He now has to go 40 blocks in less than 10 minutes on his crappy moped or he's fired. Good luck with that. So he decides it's better to go as Spider-Man, but wouldn't doing this destroy the pizzas? But first, he has to save these stupid kids from running in the street. His suit looks so much better in this one. Well, he delivered these destroyed pizzas late and his boss fires him.
Parker, hello, you're fired.
I guess he lost his other job too. But Peter gives J. Jonah Jameson a picture of Spider-Man, so he's unfired. Why do I have a feeling this happens a lot? On top of all that, he missed class and his paper on someone named Dr. Octavius is late, so now he has to write that or he'll fail his class. At least he gets a surprise party for his birthday. Wait, this all happened on his birthday? Jeez. And just to make everything worse, Mary Jane tells him that she's dating someone now. And he promises to go to her play the next day. Wanna guess how that's gonna work out? Once he gets home, he gets yelled at by his landlord for being late on rent. For being Spider-Man, his life sure sucks. The next day, Harry takes Peter to meet Dr. Octavius and his wife Rosie. Octavius talks about his research in sustaining fusion, whatever that means.
My design for initiating and sustaining fusion.
I'm sure that'll be fine. That night, Peter is on his way to Mary Jane's play, and Mary Jane is all excited for it. You know, he might actually make it. Never mind. So he stops them. I don't know why he takes his mask off here. He's in a convertible and everyone can now see his face. And he drives this now stolen car to the theater. But Bruce Campbell denies him entrance because he's late. So he waits outside for Mary Jane to come out, but her boyfriend shows up, so he goes to fight crime instead. And along the way, his webbing stops working, so he falls and drags his broken bike home. The next day, Octavius is trying his fusion energy thing, so we'll see how that goes. And to help out, he has these arms that are connected to his spine and also his brain.
If the artificial intelligence in the arms is as advanced as you suggest, couldn't that make you vulnerable to them?
He has some chip for that, and I'm sure it's not going to immediately be destroyed. He heats up the tritium and makes a sun. Well, it starts attracting metal and freaking out, so Peter has to change to Spider-Man to stop it, Rosie dies, and the tritium destroys the chip. See? I told you. Octavius is at the hospital and these doctors are going to cut off the mechanical arms. Yeah, they don't like that, so they kill all the doctors, and go into this destroyed building on the river. Octavius is thinking about jumping in the river, but since the brain chip is destroyed, the arms start talking to him and convince him to rebuild and retry his fusion energy thing. Well, you know what they say, if you fail, try again. In order to get the money they need, the arms convince him to rob a bank. Okay, he just used all 4 arms to rip the door off. That means that the entire weight of the door was on his legs. How did he not completely collapse from that weight? Anyway, Aunt May and Peter just so happened to be at the bank that day, so Spider-Man can fight Doc Ock. By the way, his name is Doc Ock now. After some fighting, he kidnaps Aunt May and drops her to distract Spider-Man. You know, he went from I'm not a criminal to I'm fine with murder real quick. After taking several punches to the face from a person with super strength, he has Aunt May again, and he's gonna stab Spider-Man while he flies to them. If these arms were made to control a fusion reaction, why do they need these spikes? Whatever, Aunt May smacks him, and this gives Spider-Man a chance to save her. Later on, Peter is taking pictures at a party for J. Jonah Jameson's son, and he finds out this is who Mary Jane is dating. Then Harry gets really drunk and yells at him and starts slapping him for defending Spider-Man after he killed his father. And Mary Jane is now getting married to John Jameson. Have I mentioned his life sucks? Then his powers stop working again, so he goes to a doctor and says that he's having dreams that he's Spider-Man and he keeps losing his powers.
Well, actually, it's not even my dream, it's a friend of mine's dream.
Because that doesn't make it sound like he's Spider-Man at all. The doctor kind of figures it out and tells him that maybe it's because he's not supposed to be Spider-Man and that he always has a choice. So he decides he's gonna quit being Spider-Man and throws his suit away in a dumpster. I understand why he quit, but why did he throw his suit away? You would think he'd want to keep it for one reason or another. Well, he's back to wearing his glasses, going to school, and ignoring crime again. Hey look, he finally made it to the play. A garbage man finds the suit in the trash, and for some reason his first thought is to sell it to J. Jonah Jameson. He probably should have just sold it on eBay. Peter and Aunt May are visiting Uncle Ben's grave in a completely different cemetery from the first movie. once they get home, how the hell did they get out of this car? Once they get home, Peter confesses that he lied and that he didn't actually go to the library the day Uncle Ben got shot, and he let the guy who shot Uncle Ben go for revenge. So Aunt May gets upset and just goes upstairs. Meanwhile, Doc Ock rebuilt his fusion thing and got it working, but he needs more tritium, so he's gonna go get some from Harry Osborn. But Harry wants something first.
Kill Spider-Man. I'll give you all the tritium you need. On second thought, bring him to me.
How do I find him?
Peter Parker.
What a terrible friend. Sometime later, I'm assuming this all happened over a few weeks, Peter sees that a building is on fire, so he runs in and saves someone who was trapped inside. And that night he gets a message from Aunt May, and it turns out her house is being foreclosed on, so she's moving out. This kid is helping her and starts asking Peter about if Spider-Man is ever coming back, since he knows that Peter takes his pictures. Then Aunt May starts talking about everybody being or needing a hero, something like that.
Lord knows, kids like Henry need a hero. Spider-Man did that for Henry, and he needs him.
Does she know he's Spider-Man and just not saying anything? But this motivates Peter to be Spider-Man again, so he jumps off a roof. That did not work. Later on, Peter meets up with Mary Jane, but Doc Ock still needs to have Peter tell him where Spider-Man is, so he throws a car at him. If he needs to get information from him, why the hell did he just try to kill him? Whatever, Peter says he doesn't know where Spider-Man is, so he takes Mary Jane to bait him out. Is she just gonna get kidnapped in every movie? This pisses Peter off, so his powers are back, and he steals his suit back, so Spider-Man's back. He meets Doc Ock at a clock tower, and they somehow end up fighting on a train. It's actually a pretty cool fight, and to be honest, it holds up pretty well. Are you freaking kidding me? Then they just start throwing people around. What the hell is going on? I love this movie. Doc Ock then breaks the train and bails. Wasn't he supposed to be taking Spider-Man to Harry? Anyway, Spider-Man stops the train and then passes out. Well, now all these people know what he looks like. You know, he really does suck at keeping his identity a secret.
We won't tell nobody.
Yeah, okay kid, just speak for the entire car. So you're telling me not even one of these people took a picture? Doc Ock comes back, knocks Spider-Man out, and brings him to Harry. But I guess he was nice enough to get him a new mask since that giant bird mark is now gone. And Harry gives this psycho enough tritium to destroy half the city. Harry's gonna kill Spider-Man, but first he takes his mask off, sees that it's Peter, and freaks out.
Peter, you killed my father.
There are bigger things happening here.
Or you could have told him you didn't, and he technically killed himself trying to kill you. Anyway, back at the river, Doc Ock is starting his fusion thing, and Spider-Man is there. Although I don't know how he found out where he was, because there's no reason Harry would know that, because Doc Ock never told him. They start fighting again, and Spider-Man just pile drives him through the floor. Octavius is just an ordinary man with mechanical arms. How does he survive this stuff?
Let's see you scurry out of
Again, what purpose did he put these spikes in these for? Anyway, Spider-Man ends up pulling the power, but it doesn't work for some reason. And he's out of ideas, so he reveals his identity to Doc Ock and asks how to destroy it. And he says it can't be stopped because it's self-sustaining, but what was his plan for if that happened before? So Doc Ock is gonna drown it in the river. And now Mary Jane knows who he is, because he sucks at keeping his identity a secret. How dumb is she that she couldn't figure this out before? And then she nearly dies, until Spider-Man saves her again. Doc Ock then destroys the pillars and drowns the tritium. So Mary Jane and Peter get this nice moment to themselves. Wait, who called the cops and why is John here? Who cares? Back at his mansion, Harry is contemplating what to do and starts going crazy and hearing voices. Turns out it's his father and he tells him to avenge him. So Harry gets upset and throws a knife through a mirror and just for sequel bait finds all the goblin stuff. Gee, I wonder who the next villain is going to be. Well, Mary Jane is still getting married, but she leaves John at the altar to go be with Peter. Yeah, that's gonna work out great. I believe this is the best Spider-Man movie so far. The visual effects don't look too bad for how old it is, except it does show its age at times. Like when Doc Ock is tearing the vault door off the bank, and there are times when Spider-Man is swinging around and it just looks really animated. The fight scenes are also well choreographed, especially the train fight. I think the acting is better than the first movie. It seems like the returning actors really settled into their roles. I think Tobey Maguire makes a better Peter Parker than Spider-Man. As Peter, he does a good job at acting awkward and struggling to keep a job while living a double life, but he's not bad as Spider-Man. He has a look and movement, but I just wish he made more of the quips and sarcastic remarks while fighting that Spider-Man is known for. James Franco does a great job with Harry Osborn's character transition. He's great at trying to be Peter's friend but still being angry about what happened to his father, then finally becoming consumed with revenge to the point that he's willing to risk his best friend's life. Alfred Molina is fantastic as Doc Ock. He can act caring and he makes a good mentor for Peter, but he can also act menacing and psychotic after he transitions into a villain. This is a really good middle movie. It's not very often that the second movie is better than the first one, and this really is a great middle movie, with great character development and setup for the third movie. And with the way that the relationships between the characters change, like between Peter and Harry, where Harry goes from trying to still be his friend to trying to decide what to do after finding out that he's Spider-Man and that he feels that Peter is responsible for his father's death. And the change between Peter and Mary Jane after she finds out why Peter feels that he can't be with her. After this though, there's no way all of New York doesn't know that Peter is Spider-Man. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff, and thanks for watching.